but they don't want to pay. They don't want to pay for it, like, I used to have this thing where if I felt like, I felt like I wanted to do something for somebody and they didn't really want to pay, well, then I would let them do it for free, or I'd take like $50. And now I'm like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
This is hard work for me and it's hard work for you. And if you want to do this, it's not just a sweet little sideshow, it's an actual modality of healing that is expanding further and further. And if you really want to do this, you really need to invest in it, invest in yourself and invest in the program. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't do it for free anymore.
My
It's
past life
fun.
is I charge quite good money for past life, just because
Yeah.
of the amount of time it might take. And if someone is taking longer, I want to actually put quite a long time aside,
Yeah.
if you need it.
I usually do two. I ask them what they want, 2 hours or 2, 3, or 4 hours. And most of them go for 2. And then they want to come back for another session because they didn't realize how much is there.
Yeah.
So then I'll book them again for another 2 or 3 hour session. But generally 2 hours is kind of where people land because they
Yeah.
charge quite a lot of money for it. So
Yeah. So when you said the past life regression, and then you said, did you say interdimensional? Is that what you said?
interdimensional or interlife regression. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
take them right back to soul level. So when they do land where they're going to, start the show, they usually don't have a body. They usually don't have, it feels different to them. And so there's a really good pre-talk that goes into that. You're going to probably end up in the life between lives. You're going to end up in what's called a soul space. And yeah, it might feel a little different. It might look a little different. You might experience things in a different way because it's not necessarily in human form. And that session is really great because the very beginning of the session is higher soul work and then higher healing work, which is really cool stuff. And then there's an reintroduction back to soul family, and kind of reintroduces what the purpose of the soul that you're, the soul that's inhabiting you, what the purpose is. You can kind of adjust what needs to be adjusted so that the person is actually working with the soul to live out that experience. And then from there, what else do we do? Oh, there's some Akashic records, Hall of Records work. And then there's an actual opportunity for them to connect with a past loved one.
Can I ask who your training was with for your past life stuff, Jacquie, please, if you don't mind?
She does it.
I do the training. I've always, I've always been interested in past life. So I used to just follow like the scripting that you buy in a hypnosis book. And I liked it, but it wasn't deep enough. So then I found Ultra Height. I was working with that for a while, but I always feel like we can go deeper and farther and more intense. So I developed my own program. So I utilized the Simpson protocol. And then I've changed it up a little bit to include and incorporate past life and interlife. So when I teach it, I teach past life regression to find out about a significant other or a person in your life. I teach that one first, and then there's an experience. So the second day is all about an experience. So learning more about skills, gifts, attributes, or just parts of you that don't necessarily fit with your entire life now. Mm-hmm. And then day 3 is all interdimensional. So that's actually moving into soul space. Moving outside of the body, moving outside of human emotion and all the baggage that we carry, and really doing a lot of really deep soul work, deep healing work, reconnecting with your soul group and your soul family. And like I said, going into that Akashic records, or I call it the Hall of Records, and really having a look at some of the things that you've done. So some of the ones that are really important will come up to you. And you're able to kind of look at those and incorporate some of those gifts, or even just understand why you have some certain things that go on in your life now that don't really fit with what's going on in your life.
With your induction that you do, you know how Dolores Cannon uses a very long, very drawn out, an hour-long induction, but the SP
No.
like the almond induction. Have you got an in-between or a particular, what's your, do you just still stick with the SP induction?
Okay, I'm going to tell you a secret. I'm actually sharing it with Inez shortly. I love the induction from SP, although I find it very long and I find it very complicating for analytical clients. It's too long for them, and it's just there's too many loopholes for them to bring the conscious into play.
It is pretty.
So I have an adaptation to Elman that I use, and it's just all of it in consume it consumes everything. So there's no opportunity for them to actually engage until I count backwards from 3 down to 1 in 3 specific areas in that induction. And that allows them to just listen to my voice. Like the whole premise of that is now listening to my voice, going deeper and deeper. Any sounds you hear are going to take you deeper and deeper. Anytime you need to move or scratch an itch, it's going to take you deeper and deeper. So it's just incorporating all of their movement and everything, and it's just taking them deeper.
Okay.
Are you able to sell that, Jacquie?
I can send you a copy of it, Justine, and you can share it with the group if you like. It's fine. It's not my induction. It's one that I learned when I was going to school, and I've adapted it. So I'll send you my adaptation.
Awesome.
And then I have another induction that I use for people who come to me and say, I can't shut my voice off in my head, and I don't think I can be hypnotized. Those people who are always in their head. So I have another one that I use, and it's actually just an induction that I incorporated from another fellow. I can't think of the name of him right now, but it's the 7 plus or minus 2. So we can think of 7 or plus or minus 7 things plus or minus 2. And I just keep adding things, and it just knocks them deeper, because at the very end of that induction, all they have to think about is how nice it'll be not to have to think of 7 things plus 2. So I do 2 different inductions depending.
Can you please share that one with Justine?
Yeah, I can share it with Justine. When I teach Simpson Protocol now, I've incorporated those into my teaching. So I don't actually teach the old way of doing the Elman as Inez has it in the book. I love it, but I've always found that there's too many people that find loopholes, and then you're constantly just taking them deeper and deeper anyway. So I just changed it up. The other thing that I've done, for those of you that are familiar with Simpson Protocol, there's a deepener, beach deepener, where they lose their name on the beach. And I don't like that one. I've never liked that one. So now I use a time clock, and I tell them a story. So I'm engaging the inner child, and I'm creating a visual where they're the child and they're actually watching the clock go backwards in time. And as of course, every time it drops back, they go deeper and deeper. And by the time we're done that, we're ready to install. So
nice.
From induction to actual starting of the regression, I would say, I think I would probably give it about 5 minutes.
Oh, is that all?
That's it. Yeah. No, I don't mess around with inductions. The thing with the long induction is it's fantastic. It gets them really relaxed. It gets them going where they need to go. I want them to be slightly more engaged when they're doing this. So I don't want to knock them really deep, because then I have to bring them up anyway in order for them to talk to me. So I've adapted different inductions so that I get them to a depth. I can tell, okay, good, we're where we need to be, and they're still able to really communicate with me effectively when I'm asking them questions. Because once I get the induction done, I install deep, I install high, so they have everything there. Then I'll go straight into doing the the regression. And the regression is simply the superconscious mind guiding the regression and cooperating with the conscious mind, so that the conscious mind's actually coming forward more. So they're getting the experience. They're actually speaking it. They're understanding it. And of course, I'm recording it so that they can listen to it again. But it's back and forth between the superconscious mind and the conscious mind. So I don't want them really really deep, because I want them to be able to communicate with me. Of course, you get that lazy voice, and you get the quiet voice and everything, because they're in a great state of hypnosis, but they're not so deep that they can't actually communicate with you.
Yeah, I've had that
Yeah.
in SP where they get too deep to.
Yeah, I would say when I'm teaching it, it probably takes me about 5 minutes. It probably takes my students anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes because they're just learning it. So, 7 minutes maximum for your induction. And that includes taking them as deep as they need to go for this session. And Superconscious, of course, knows what that is. And then taking them to high with guidance present. I always make sure that that's done. When I get to high, I'm also activating the Merkaba for them because that's kind of one foot in this world and one foot in the other.
I do that too. Yeah.
Merkaba allows them to, and I actually have a Merkaba and I hold it in my hand when I'm doing sessions with clients.
Yeah.
And the pokes on the Merkaba kind of remind me to keep moving through.
Yeah, lots of people don't know what a Merkaba is when you ask for them to bring that in.
Yeah, no, they don't understand that. But by the time I'm asking for that, they don't care. I've never had somebody come out of the session and say, hey, what was that word you said? It was more like, oh my God, I went to 1462 and I was blah, 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 so they're getting the memory of what it is they need to remember from each regression. Now, my sessions are also lined up where I only do one regression with a client at a time. And then I bring in the Simpson protocol at the end. So I'm clearing up anything that's come up from that regression in this lifetime. If you're going to do a 3 or 4 hour regression, there is a spot where you would just go back up to the top and start with the next regression. So you can do multiple regressions. With my clients, I think I've only done multiple regressions a few times because, of course, people don't want to stick around for 4 hours. They do once they're in. Once they know what to expect, then they're like, oh my God, I should have stayed for 4 hours. But the next time they come back, they know what they need to do. So
you do interdimensionally as well as past life regressions, or wherever the spirit lands, significant to what it is that their learning journey is, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, I have 3 different scripts that I have written. So the scripting is mostly just to kind of cue me for questioning to move them around. But it also, I have them written separately. So if we're doing a past life and all of a sudden Superconscious pops them into an interdimensional space, I can flip over and I can start using that scripting instead because it's a little bit different in a past life as opposed to interdimensional. Past life is more about the life they lived. Interdimensional is more about the story the soul's wanting to tell them. So I always have everything handy just in case, and I just let Superconscious guide wherever we need to go.
Do we need to have done some protocol to be able to do this particular past life format?
I would think that it probably would be a benefit. I'm trying to figure out a way to actually teach it without people having to take the Simpson protocol. Because at the end, we incorporate the Simpson protocol back in to finish the session out, to clear up anything that's come up from the past life regression in this lifetime. So it's like a double blind, making sure everything's clear. So
you kind of do need to
Jacquie,
do this, but you might need to do it online.
I teach it online all the time. Actually, I teach it online. I do 2 classes a day. So it's a 3-day class. I teach the first class from 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon, my time. I take a break and then I teach it again from 5 until I think it's 9 or 10 at night, 3 days in a row. So I'm on the computer all day.
I was going to say, Teresa, I'll organise one with NZ and Aussie time.
Yeah, that'd be great.
SP's over here. Jacquie will sort something out.
I'll be teaching it in October. So we can set up a date in October that works for most of your people, Justine, and I'm happy to teach it. So
awesome.
Jacquie, hi. I'm keeping my camera off.
Okay.
I came in a little bit late, so I'm sorry if you've already covered this, if my question is redundant. I've also been trained in SP. I love it. However, I don't use it as much as I probably would like to, because I found that with really, really, really analytical people, it just doesn't work. And I don't know if that's my limiting belief or my projection. I don't know. But other than that 5+2 induction that you were talking about, do you have any tips, or how do you kind of adapt it, or what can we keep in mind with those analytical people in SP?
Okay, so for analytical people, I do sometimes I'll do the adapted element and the 7+or- because it just knocks them deeper and deeper all the time. I will do the clock to get them even deeper. And then when I get to soul level, when we're asking if all parts are on board to do the work today, the answer is usually yes.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask the question, is the ego and inner child on board to do the work today? And generally there's a no. The ego doesn't consider itself a part of us. It considers itself like the part. I am the, you gotta talk to me. So what I will do is I will ask the superconscious and all of guidance to come in and give the ego what it needs and the inner child what it needs in order to come into consensus with the individual. Then I will ask the individual, I will say their name, and I'll say, now I'd like you to invite the ego and the inner child to come into your happy, safe place with you. I'd like the inner child to just go and play because the adults are there to take care of it now, and it doesn't need to worry about being hurt anymore. And I'd like the ego to sit next to you in the spotlight so that it can see what's coming. And generally with analytical people, that silences everything because they don't want to give up control. And putting the ego in the spotlight gives you that ego, that feeling of being in control. And generally after that, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
Where I find my biggest problem with analytical people is, and this is why I dropped the old way of doing the Elman, is when they have to lose their numbers. They're very adamant that I will lose the numbers when I'm damn good and ready. So you're at the beach and you hear them counting under their breath, 63, 62, 61. You're like,
a badge of honor,
just let them go.
Yes.
So the Elman that I use now doesn't actually have that where they have to count backwards. I do 3 specific areas in the induction where I count 3 down to 1. And then at the very end of that element, I'm counting 10 down to 1. There's no time where they actually really have to engage to do anything. They just get to listen to my voice and follow simple instructions. And then I said, when we get into the session, I'm going to have a chat with your ego and I'm going to get your ego on board with you. Well, fat chance, good luck with that. And 90% of the time it's the ego gets what it needs and off we go. So,
okay. So the countdown is led by you. It's not led by them.
It's led by me. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There is no point in that in the induction that I use where they have to lose anything. They don't have to lose anything. And analytical people don't want to lose control.
No, they don't.
So when they lose those, when they're trying to lose the numbers, they're in control. Well, if I lose those numbers, what else am I going to lose? Oh my God. And then we take them to the beach and we tell them they need to lose their name. No, I'm not doing that. Like, it's just a trigger for the conscious mind. Like, no, I'm in control. I know my name. I know I can count backwards all the way until God only knows when. But the induction that I use now, my analytics, they just go, they're gone, because it's like, these are simple instructions. I count 3 backwards down to 1, and you're going to go nice and deep, and it's going to be more relaxation than you've ever felt before. And I'll even tell them, focus on the relaxation. We don't want them to be super relaxed.
Yeah.
But analytical people don't know that. Why don't you just focus on getting curious about how relaxed you can actually feel? I want you to feel that. I just want you to pay attention to how that feels as I'm doing the induction. So then they're like, okay, well, how, and I'll say some of my clients are so relaxed. They don't even want to talk to me anymore. Challenge accepted, right? They're like, okay, I'm going to see if I can get even more relaxed where I'm not talking to you, period. So I kind of play the game with their conscious mind a little bit. I give it a little bit of control. And then I ask them to invite the ego in to sit with them. Come and sit, be in the spotlight. That's what our egos want. Our egos want those high heels, the red lipstick, the spotlight, and the runway to walk down in that big feather boa dress. That's what our ego wants. And we always fight against the ego. And the ego is the part of us that needs the most work. So let's invite the ego. Come sit beside me here. Like, come sit in the driver's seat with me. I want you to see what's going on so that we can support each other as we decide what we're going to do today, how much we're going to shift. It doesn't have to be much, but hey, this could be kind of fun. As soon as you invite that ego to take the spotlight, control, game on, let's do this. And then it can see, and it's actually being consulted, right? So that's what I do with my analyticals. It's very much catering to the ego. And of course, once they're in the session and they're nice and deep, once that ego's in that happy, safe place, it's game over for the ego, because like, oh, well, all right, I'm in the spotlight over here. Great, you're over there. Now you can stay there. And sometimes I'll even say super conscious, even just drop a veil so that all it can do is hang out in that happy, safe place and watch. That's it. That's all I do with that, my analyticals. And it works really well.
Thank you. And I look forward to that induction of the 5 and 2 that you were talking about.
Yeah, I'll send that too. I'll email everything off to Justine that I'm doing right now. I'll send you just a copy of my textbook, Justine, because I've altered it a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll do.
Your blue nails are gorgeous as well, Jacquie.
Oh, they're mood changing. So the colder I get, the darker they get, and the warmer I get, the lighter they get. So I'm kind of cold today, but anyway.
Are you in Canada as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear the accent.
Yeah, I'm Western Canadian.
Yeah, I can hear it. I hope you're staying safe with that heat wave.
Actually, yeah, we're getting a bit of weather. We went to BC for the weekend. My son lives in British Columbia, so we went mountain hiking and all that stuff with them for the weekend. And then, drove home yesterday and hit a big wall of storm. So
wow.
On the motorcycle, it was fun. It was my first rainstorm on a motorcycle. It was kind of interesting. So. But yeah, it's a little cooler today, which is nice. It's a break because we've had some hot weather here. Yeah, so your analyticals are actually very easy to cater to. You kind of just have to put yourself aside and get curious about how you can make that ego sit in the spotlight. That's what your curiosity is as the therapist. How do I make that ego happy so that I can just bypass it and move on? That's
putting the ego and the inner child in the happy place.
Yep. I asked the client to invite them in. Okay, just invite them in. Have your inner child go and play. If you're at the beach, let them play in the water. You just kind of keep an eye on the inner child and have the ego come sit beside you and like support you. You're going to support the ego in this happy, safe place, and the ego is going to support you, and you're going to work together to decide and make those choices that you need to make to move yourself forward. And it doesn't have to be big, giant strides. It can be small steps. Mm-hmm. The trick is the happy place that we create for the client is to park the conscious mind, right? So that's their happy, safe place. They can sit over there and they can watch what's going on. But the ego will venture out of there all the time because it doesn't have any support from the person. So I connect the support system for the ego and the person. They're all one thing, but ego needs to feel important. So, hey, give it what it needs. And it makes it a lot easier for the ego just to be sidestepped. And once it's there, sometimes I'll even ask, in my head, super conscious, just drop a bit of a veil so that it just stays there now and just watches. It's okay if it's triggered a little bit, but we want it to be curious and just see what's going to happen. Just see what it could feel like to feel that relaxed, what it could feel like to let go of all that anger. And it seems it works really well for me. I don't have any trouble with analyticals at all.
That's really cool. And you've never had them kind of like question later, what is the ego? What is the inner child?
No.
Yeah. No. That's me being analytical now.
Yeah. No, the client will only remember what they need to remember about the session. Yeah. I've never had a client come out and say, oh my God, Jacquie, what the hell is methylation? Well, they'll come out and they'll tell you the experiences they had or how they felt as the anger was draining out of them or how they felt when the healing came in or, they'll remember the things that they need to or want to remember in the session. They won't remember things like, oh, well, we put your ego and your inner child in the cage with you over there on your happy place and your little island over there. So they don't remember that stuff. And even if they did, it would be all right. Well, and how did the session go? Like, how do you feel now? I feel really great. All good. See?
Yeah.
And then every time that client comes back, I'll just double check. So has the ego got what it needs? So when I ask for parts in soul, I'll say, I do all parts have what it needs now to move the session forward? Yes, great. Are the ego and inner child happy now? Are they in that happy place? Yes, great. Okay. If they're not, just invite them back in, get comfy, let me know when it's done. And that's it. Very, very simple. And then when I'm doing experiences, when I'm working with regression experiences, now this is for Simpson protocol, right at the end of all of that, once we've done all the experiences, everything's complete. I'll say, now, superconscious, is there anything left to be done for the ego or inner child at this time with regard to all of that, all the work we've done in experiences? If the answer is yes, I'll say, please go ahead and do that now, making sure that the ego and the inner child have that acceptance in the heart. And then we just move on. So very, very easy to work with analyticals. I was terrified of analytical people when I first started working, and now it's challenge accepted. You said you can't get into hypnosis? Fabulous. Come and sit down in my chair. Let's see how far we can go today. So
Thank you, Jacquie. That was really informative. Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, Michelle. No, you're muted, Michelle.
No, I'm all
There
good now,
she
mate.
is.
Yeah, I'm all good. Hey, how do you go with self-hypnosis doing this stuff? Like, I often do work on my own subconscious mind and my own different parts of me. But in regards to the ego, I hadn't even thought about the ego.
Mm-hmm.
So do you work on yourself
Yep.
doing this stuff? Yep.
Yeah, I've done sessions for myself where it's strictly ego work. The
Yeah.
intention is superconscious mind, please do what needs to be done for my ego so that it can be calm and it can work with me and be supporting me.
Cool.
So that's the intention. So it's basically like surrogacy almost, except that you're sending it to yourself, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'll just say, just do the whole entire session on the ego and do what needs to be done for the ego to make it happy.
Yeah.
Because then when I get into a session with, Justine or Inez or whoever I'm working with, my ego is just sitting in their happy place watching, hey, I'm over here.
Awesome. I'm going to give that a go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes a huge difference, even in your own self-work, that you may find that the voice in your head is just almost silent because you're doing the work and it's curious. Well, what are you doing for me? What are you doing for me?
What I have found is the higher self or the superconscious self responds to me either through words or a sensation in my head.
There you go.
And I will often have a conversation with that part of myself, and it'll explain things to me, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. So ask your ego, what do you need? Ask your inner child, what do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need from me to be comfortable to do work so that we can all all feel better and all feel safe and secure?
Yeah, because I feel like I'm kind of missing the point at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and sometimes it takes a little while. The ego wants to be right. So when we do work on the ego to make the ego better, of course the ego's right.
Yeah. And even my subconscious responds, like it responds with a feeling. And that feeling started at the base of my spine and it's now moved up to my throat. So it's gone through, it's just gone through the heart. It's just come all the way up through the chakras. As the more I've cleared out, the more it's a love feeling. Yeah. And when it's a no response, there's no response. But if it's a positive response or a yes response, it's that love feeling comes up and it's completely different to the superconscious mind.
Totally. Yeah, totally. There's actually a chakra system I work with. It's 114 point chakra system. There's 112 points within the body, 2 outside of the body. Yeah. Within that chakra system, there is like a circulation system called the nadis. There's 72,000 nadis in the body, and the life force flows through that. So that life force is often obstructed in areas when we're holding on to emotions or traumas that we haven't got to the point of releasing yet. So when you're working with ego, I always make sure too, to ensure that that 114 point chakra system, the nadis and life force are all balanced and optimal for the client.
Okay.
And I attach that, of course, to the heart space so that the circulation can go through the body.
Interesting.
Jackie, are you able to share your most fascinating past life experience with a client? Would that be okay? Or the most interesting one you've had so far?
Yeah, actually, one of my students recently lost her mother. And she messaged me and she said it was about 2 days after her mother had passed. And she said, I really need you to, I just need you to help me. I don't know what I need, but I need you to help me. So I said, well, why don't we do an interlife regression session and see what we can come up with, meaning connection to her mother. So we did the session. There was an awful lot of information that came to her at soul. And then there was a lot of healing that went on. So when I got to healing and in interdimensional, she said, she actually opened her eyes and looked at me straight into the camera. And she said, my whole entire body is just vibrating, like tingling. And you could actually kind of see her shaking a little bit on the couch. And then we got to soul family information, and she has been trying really hard to open up to her psychic gifts for a really long time. And it just happened like that. It was just bam. And she said, oh my God, I'm getting all this information. It's coming in, it's coming stronger and stronger. She could actually feel it like moving around in her body and going where it needed to go. So then we got to the end of this, towards the end of the session, and I invited her to ask somebody to come in from somebody who had passed so that she could have that conversation. And her mother showed up. Which was really cool because she'd only passed 2 days prior. And she showed up, and she said, oh my God, she's here. She's holding my hand. She's looking so good. She's not, she had Alzheimer's. So of course that vacant look was gone. She was very animated. And she shared just so much information with her daughter. And it was just, a lot of it was done very silently, but Nicole was saying, I'm just getting so much information. I didn't know this about my mother. I didn't know how she felt about this. And it was just really a fantastic session for me to watch, just how her body would shift and how she would smile and she would cry, and then she would smile and she would cry. And, she came out of that session, after her mother had left. Her mother actually came forward. Her facial expression changed. It wasn't Nicole's face any longer. It was her mother's face. And she thanked me for connecting her to her daughter. And then she left. And then after the session, the debrief was fantastic. She said, my mother always had these gifts, and she, of course, was a stout Catholic and didn't believe in it. And so she never really, followed through with anything. But she's encouraged me now to open up my gifts, and she's stepping in to kind of help me from the other side to really kind of move myself in those directions. And the coolest part was her face changed. It was her mother's face that was actually there and speaking to me, and then disappeared again, and out she came. That was one of the more special things that I've been privy to. So really cool stuff.
Jackie, I don't work much or actually at all like with spirit stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'm in the wrong group here. I don't know. I don't know. Is this a spiritual group, Justine, that I've joined today?
It was more aimed at the spiritual. We had a talk with Jacquie the other day about her book and called The Burnt Out Healer. This was so that we could deep dive more into the spiritual.
Okay.
But you're where you're meant to be, Faye.
I am exactly where I'm meant to be. Exactly. So I have a question for you. Jacquie, when in hypnosis, clients come across a dead parent or someone dead and they need to have a conversation, what are kind of the things to keep in mind about that conversation? Do we always send that person back to the light, right?
No, you don't really need to send them back. When you have a client who connects to a loved one who's passed, it's like mediumship, only you've taken the medium out. You're actually not involved. So what I will do is they'll say, you know, in Nicole's situation, you know, she went to a portal, she called her mother in and her mom came in. And I just ensure that that person is there. I'll say, now, is that presence known to you? So do you know who this presence is? And they'll say, yeah, my mom, my dad, my whoever. And I'll say, okay, so now I'm going to just hold the space while you have a conversation. And I said, the conversation will take place in the best way for you. Whether you want to use your voice or whether it wants to be silent is completely up to you. I said, this is a safe space and I'm going to literally just hold space for you to do that. And so I just facilitate the kind of the connection, and then the conversation carries on however they want it to carry on. Okay. Some people will tell me what's going on, and some people are they're just silent. There's just stuff going on in their head, which is fine. And I'll just let them know that when the conversation has ended, that they can just let me know with a yes. So then I just sit and I wait. And some conversations are very short. And some conversations are very, you know, drawn out. So I just sit and hold the space.
And that's it. And then you don't ask anything of the person who has passed. No, I will ask the client, has everything been said that needs to be said? Okay. Has everything done? And then I will ask the superconscious or subconscious, if you're working outside of that realm, just, you know, ensure that that disconnection is done now in the most appropriate way for both of them. And I'll just have the client, you know, wish their loved one well. And then I will let them know that they can come back to this space anytime they choose, you know, with guided imagery or guided hypnosis, so that they know that they're comfortable coming back to it. Okay. So you do ask for the disconnection? Sometimes I do. Very often they'll say, you know, everything's done and they're leaving now. Well, that's great. Well, send them off with love. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And away you go. I've never actually had to ask the light to come in and take a loved one away. I've had to ask the light to come in and take, you know, things that don't want to leave away. But usually when it's a loved one, they come in, they do what they need to do, and then they just naturally kind of go off on their own. And there's just a whole lot of love going on there. So it's, you know, I'll see you soon kind of thing. So, okay.
I'm not sure whether it's actually because we're doing the SP, but I think maybe 95% of the SP sessions that I've been doing, a loved one or even more than one comes in every single time, and usually at the beginning, not even the end.
Yeah, and that's fine. Sometimes if a loved one comes in at the beginning, and I've had that happen, I'll ask that loved one if they want to stay for the session and do what they need to do for the client through the session. If the answer is yes, I'll just ask them to take a seat at the council or take a seat in the guidance, and they're there.
With the Māori culture, which is the Indigenous people of New Zealand, they're very much into their whānau, and especially their ancestral whānau. And yes. 98% of the SPs that I've done have been Māori, and they bring in a lot of their ancestors to sit in, exactly what you said, to sit in council. I've had that, like I say, almost every time. It's absolutely fascinating, and it is so cool to watch. And I really feel like it enhances and strengthens the SP session, because they have such conviction about their ancestral whānau being a very real thing for them. So it's amazing. I love it. It's such a privilege to do. Can't wait to do past life stuff as well.
Yeah, past life stuff is really cool. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. Unfortunately, like I said, it's not super popular in Canada right now. I think a lot of people are kind of scared about it, but I'm like, oh, come on, you guys, it's not that bad. Just do it. Just do it. So there's other things that you can connect to as well. So it's not just past loved ones. So you know, for myself, I have a channel. And when I started really doing deep work with Inez, my channel came out. There she was. Her name's Nahidi. She's never been human. She doesn't like the idea of being in a body. So she's never actually taken human form, but she lives up in that realm of, whatever universal energy is. And she comes in and she does a lot of channeling, channels a ton of information to me all the time. A lot of the things in my book were from her. The actual introduction to my book is her channeling information about what is God and what is trauma and what is karma. A lot of that was channeled information. So it's not just about connecting to past loved ones. There's the opportunity, of course, then to open up connections for yourself for channeling information and making sure that, you can feel it. You can tell it's the right information coming in. It's a real strong connected feeling. And so a lot of times when I'm doing my own hypnosis work, or when I'm doing work for past life, or especially interlife, she comes in and she'll often speak to the therapist. She often has information for them. So there's that aspect of it as well, which is really cool stuff. But it's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, we're only tapping the surface of the work that we're doing. So hypnosis, especially spiritual hypnosis, is really coming on strong. Now, I used to be a medium years ago. People would come to me and I would do mediumship work. I far prefer this work because the client is immersed in the experience. They're much more immersed in it. There's a lot less fear, and they know the connection. They can feel the connection, so they know who it is that they're connected to. And in that way, they get the information that they need in the best way for them. And as a medium, I don't have to constantly be coming back and asking them and confirming with them, does this sound familiar? Do you know this person? Blah, blah, blah. It's just me facilitating the space. There's really no fear in doing it. It's just inviting it in and getting curious. It's really kind of a cool thing when you have that kind of past life or interlife or a past loved one or a connection come in. You can learn an awful lot just by getting curious. And sometimes past loved ones will come in and they'll have a message for you as well, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Because then you're the one that's, you're getting a message too. So you're on the right path. And there's really no fear to be had. If you're fearful of it, it won't come to you. That's the thing. If you're fearful of that connection and working with those connections, they won't come to you. It's cool to learn about it and understand it, but if you're fearful of it, it won't come to you. If you're open and ready for that stuff, which of course I always have been, it comes to me all the time, which is great. So there's no fear that you're going to be working with a client one day and you're going to get stuck in something that you can't work your way through. And we need to remember too, that we're always connected to that higher mind, and the higher mind is conducting the session. We're basically the hypnotic tour guide. We're moving things around and asking questions. So as long as we're asking questions or just saying, hey, do what you need to do, then that's great. And the client's going to tell you if it's something that shouldn't be there. It's going to feel really off to them. And that's when we need to have super conscious mind and all, guidance come in and do what it needs to do to remove it. So when you connect to somebody that you have loved in the past, or when you have that connection with, a channel, it's just a solid, they're part of you. It's like you've known them all your life. If it's something that shouldn't be there, it feels really off. It needs to go. It's like having 3 arms instead of only 2, right? So that part of it needs to go. But there's nothing to be afraid of. It's not us that has to do the work. It's the higher mind that's going to conduct that and deal with that stuff for us, which is great. I love that. Love that aspect of it. It's way easier to do it in hypnosis than it is to do mediumship work. So
can I please ask a question? Just so that internationally everyone's on the same page. I have no idea what people charge for these kinds of services.
For my past life regression session, past life regression for me is a 2-hour session. It starts at $300 Canadian for 2 hours.
Mhm.
So it's about $150 an hour. I'm actually going to be raising that price in a little while, but it's about $150 an hour that I charge. So I'll say to them, if you want to do, if you want to do 2 hours, it's $300. If you want to do 4 hours, it's $600 kind of thing. So, I wouldn't go any less. If you're working with past life regression or interlife regression, I wouldn't go any less than $150 an hour. And whatever money, I don't do money in the world, but I wouldn't undercharge yourself because it's a lot of work. Even when you're the one sitting there holding the space, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think Alba Weinman charges $500 US for a session.
Yeah, there's a guy here in Calgary. He charges $400 for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at 300, so
it's about 600 here for past life if you go to Dawn and people like that.
Yeah,
and
mine is 450. Pardon?
How long, Justine?
So Dawn will only do 2 hours.
So she charges 600 for 2 hours.
Yeah, she's a trainer as well, though. I would charge 450, no less than 450 for a past life, and that's to hypnosis because it's different. Yeah, and I do put more than 2 hours aside. So if it's 2 hours but it goes longer, it goes longer.
Okay.
Yeah. My sessions, like I say, usually around the 2 hour, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes over. But generally it's a very, the past life regression that I do is very involved. So there's the induction, and then there's the regression, and that takes a good chunk of time. And then at the end, like I say, I'm doing an actual Simpson protocol session on them. It's condensed, but I want to make sure that they're okay in their body now to incorporate all the stuff that they've gotten from the past life. So that takes about 2 hours. It really takes a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
And once I've worked with somebody for long enough, I don't really need to do the induction part anymore. We can just piece deep and high, make sure deep is there, make sure high is there, and then start the regression. So subsequent sessions are quicker. So 2 hours, 2 hours is a really good time limit for a past life if you're just starting out working with it. And I wouldn't charge any less than $300 if you're starting out. If you're getting really good at it and you're getting a lot of work out of it, I would move up to that 450 range. That's where I'll be heading in the next little while here.
What do you charge, Janet? What do you charge down there?
So I've still, like with an introspective hypnosis session, which is based on similar to what Alba does, it's only 200. So I'm just thinking,
you're
I need
going
to
up now. You're going up.
I know, but like I still charge like for a clinical hypnosis session, which is an hour and a half. For the first session is 120, and for the for the second session it's 80. I know.
You're worth more than a hairdresser, Sunshine. We love hairdressers.
So what would you charge for just a clinical hypnosis session?
Okay, I wouldn't charge. So I charge $280 for the first session, $190 after, and I wouldn't charge any less.
And how long are the sessions? 1.5
hours first session, 1 hour second. So HNZ members, we're going to recommend that no one charges less than $180. It is personal choice, but we really need to be seen as professionals. And I pay $160 just to get a little bit of regrowth every 6 weeks. And well, not anymore because I'm not dark, but we need to be charging what we're worth. So $180 minimum per hour, I reckon, New Zealand dollars, which is Jacquie, it's probably only about $130 you.
Janet, I've just started and I'm charging what Justine has said with no problems. And I've just started. I've been doing it 2 months.
Yeah, I do need to. I've got some brochures to use up. And then I'll get new brochures done.
Janet, put your prices up. Janet, put your prices up today on your website and everywhere. And it doesn't mean you have to charge that if people say, hey, I've got this brochure. But trust me, no one ever questions. I put prices up, people keep coming. It's not, but it's about you surviving and not having to do too much. Like the more you earn, the less sessions you have to do. And so you can put more.
Janet, you can throw away those brochures, print some more. It'll be cheaper for you to print some more with the new prices and to use up the ones you've got, my dear.
True.
I had a lot of blockages around money for a long time. I did a lot of hypnosis work. Do your own self work around money. It sounds like there's a bit of a blockage there about abundance and, you know, and those boundary markers. So here's the thing. You are the professional. You know what you're doing. They don't. So when you know what you're doing and you've paid thousands upon thousands of dollars like I have for training and understanding and moving forward, I charge 197 Canadian for my first session. And that's just if they want one session. If they want to try it, I charge them $197. What I will do after that is I only usually work with package sessions. So I'll do 3 or 6 sessions. Those are $150 each. But if they call and they book one session with me, they're going to pay for one session and then they're going to pay me for 3 more sessions after that. I don't bundle it all up. They have to do what they ask. So, and I tell them that right when I'm working with them, I do a really thorough intake with people so that they understand exactly what they're getting, exactly what my job is. I dig deep into their pain so that they know and they understand how much it's affecting them. And I have been assigning people at $900 and $1,350 left, right, and center. I'll pay it. Yep. And I'll say, well, okay, so I got 3 sessions at $450, or I've got 6 or 9. I'll take 9 sessions, $1,350. And it's like right now they're sliding their card through the machine and then we're done. That's it.
Yeah.
So, you know, what you're charging is what I used to charge. And I used to think, oh my God, nobody's going to want to pay that. That's a lot of money, you know, but Justine's right. We'll go out and buy a $200 pair of shoes to go out for dinner with our husband one time. And those shoes will sit in the back of the closet forever. We'll do our nails. I do my nails every 3 weeks. It costs me, you know, $60. You do your hair, people will pay it. If they are at the breaking point, they will pay it. And there's plenty of people in this world right now who are at their breaking point. And there's a lot of people who are experiencing that spiritual awakening stuff. They're waking up, as they call it. They're going to want somebody to guide them. So charge them what you're worth. Make yourself important in that price. So I charge $200 for the session, but what am I worth? Well, I'm worth another $100 at least. So then you put your price up, right? My time is worth $100. So,
Janet, you're a specialist in your area because there's not many people in New Zealand, if not any, that do it. So you need to charge like you're the specialist here.
Absolutely.
Because reality is you are. If you offer a service that other hypnotists don't. So I would be marketing yourself as this is who I am, this is what I do, this is big deal. Charge for it. And I tell you what, people will come from
you'll actually get busier. You'll get busier the more you charge. It's surprising because I never used to believe that either. I used to do $50 a session. About a year ago, I was doing $50 a session.
What do you do, Janet? What is your niche?
So I do clinical hypnotherapy, but I also do, I did an introspective hypnosis course with Antonio Sanjo and Albert Weinman.
San Diego.
Pardon?
The guy from San Diego.
Yeah, I think he's in San Diego.
Yeah, it would have been awesome. I wanted to do that.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to do a course. They had it here in Wanaka.
Wow.
And people came from all over the world to go to it.
Yeah.
So
look how much you're worth. Look how much you're worth. Look how much you're worth. Even in this group, look how much you're worth.
Yeah.
I
So
want
the
to book in
session,
with you. Can I please book in with you for a session?
sure. The sessions are very similar to what Albert Weinman does.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to book in with you. I'll get your details off Justine before your prices go up, and I'm going to book in with you.
Well, we might have to have a discussion about pricing, Justine. You have to help me.
Yep, 100%.
Just do some work on abundance and boundaries and money.
Thank you.
I've done lots of work around money, lots of hypnosis work. And now it's like, no, I have no problem at all saying, I will do 9 sessions for you and it's going to cost you $1,350.
Look, when
Yeah.
you know how much a woman spends on Botox every certain amount of time, or, you know, I used to work in a pharmacy about 35 years ago, and what women spend on one jar of moisturizer will blow you away.
I know.
Yeah, we're
Quitting
talking
smoking.
hundreds of,
Quitting smoking.
Yeah.
3 sessions, $900. They're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. I said, really? How much money do you spend on cigarettes every year?
you know, that's not a lot of money. I don't know. I think we're too cheap, but
Yeah.
I really value hypnosis as a modality. So perhaps it's
I think it's
Yeah.
a really good idea for us to, as Justine recommended, as a profession, to have some kind of standardization around prices, so that also, you know, people in the community understand the value, and it kind of deters shopping around for a lower price.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking for an integrative nutritionist. More or less, the prices are more or less the same. They're in the neighborhood of 200, 220, 240. And I'm happily going to pay it, because it's a solution. I mean, we're offering such a powerful, long-lasting solution. And Jacquie, I 100% agree with you that the way around our charging situation is to work on our own money blocks. I had the same experience this year. 2 years ago, I was charging $50 an hour a session, and actually I was ashamed of asking for it. Now I charge $297 without even flinching.
There you go.
My calendar is fully booked. And in a way, you end up attracting a different caliber of client and they have to prepay in order to see me. And it is a
Exactly.
2-hour session. It is a 2-hour, 90-minute session, but it ends up going to about 2 hours. But it is all about like how you feel within yourself.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend that you do the release the money block. And it will change your life. It will change your relationship with money, and it will change business.
Absolutely. Yeah, it totally does. And the other thing to think about is this. So we're therapists, you know, for all intents and purposes, we're therapists. 96% of people who come to see us see a result immediately to 3 sessions. So 1 to 3 sessions, they're seeing big results. You compare that to talk therapy. And I mean, I have a psychologist friend, and she charges $220 an hour. She has clients who've been seeing her for 6-7 years for the same problem. Great. So you're going to spend that kind of money to talk about the problem in the conscious mind and try and figure it out. Or you're going to come and see me and pay me $197 an hour. And within 3 sessions, your anxiety is, gone from a 10 down to a 2. Right. So we are not regulated per se. And I'm kind of glad that we're not regulated, because then we'd have a government body out there telling us how to do our jobs, which I don't want, because we all do our jobs. And the trick to hypnotherapy is bringing our personality into the job. But you've got hypnotherapists who charge. I mean, I've got students who are still working for free. They're not confident in their work. They're doing stuff for free, and they're getting taken advantage of, and they don't know why they can't build a business. And then I know a guy down in the States, $25,000 for a session with him. $25,000. And the guy's an idiot. I mean, he's fantastic, but I've listened to his stuff, and I mean, I'm asleep within the minute of him talking. 25 grand. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm charging $300 for past life regression. Like, seriously? What? I'm just as good as he is. That's the mindset you need to be in. If you've got a guy working in your area who's charging $25,000, you need to be charging $25,001, because you are just as good as that person. So when it comes to money, managing money and coming up with the idea of blocks, it's literally inside of you to release all of that and say, no, I am abundant. I am a person who deserves this. I'm loved and supported by the universe, and I have everything I need right now. In fact, I have everything I need before I even know I need it, including money. Money flows to me easily. And when I got to that point where it was like, oh, click, my prices went up. I went from $50 an hour to $197 an hour, pretty much overnight. My calendar filled up. I also incorporated a pre-talk. So I do a pre-talk that I send out to everybody so they hear my voice, they hear what my job is, they hear what their responsibility is with the session. So they know everything before they even come and see me. And now I do a strategy session. So every client that I have, new client, they have to do a 45-minute strategy session with me on Zoom. So they get to see me, they get to hear my voice, and I pick at their pain a little bit. And we figure out how much it's affected their life and for how long. And like I said, I'm signing people up left, right, and center to do 9 sessions, 6 sessions. Like last week in one day, I made $2,700 just signing people up from strategy sessions. That's before I even did the work. And those people are going to get a result. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to go tell their friends, hey, you need to go and see so-and-so. You need to see Jackie, or you need to see Janet, or you need to see Patricia, or you need to see Michelle. They know what they're doing. I didn't have to go to my psychologist and talk to her for 5 years. Jackie sorted it out in 1 session. I'm already feeling better. I can't wait to see what's going to happen by the end of 6 sessions. It's going to be great. I'm going to feel absolutely fabulous.
Hey, Jackie, could you just say that? Sorry. Could you repeat that affirmation again? I have a major problem with money as well. Major problem.
Okay. Do the work on
I'm writing it
yourself,
down.
or work with somebody, or do the work on yourself. You want to open up your abundance and boundary markers.
Okay.
Most people's abundance is like this because, we're human, and especially women. We're like, oh my God, my kids need this. And I have to look after the house, and you have to look after the husband. And of course, my parents are getting older now, so I have to look after them. And where do you fit in? Where do you fit in that abundance? You don't. There's no room for you. So open it up. Boundaries created within that abundance allow you to kind of move aside what's not important right now. Set it on the shelf. It's there. We'll deal with it later. Right now, I'm dealing with this. I have everything I need right now. I am loved and supported by the universe, and I have everything I need right now. That's huge. In fact, I'll have everything I need before I even know I need it. I say that to myself every day. Money flows to me easily. Open up that abundance. Bring it in. It doesn't just bring money to you, it brings everything to you. I have everything I need right now, including all the money I will ever need. I never worry about money. I never have. I've been one of these people that just never worry about money, because when I need it, it's there. Because that's what I believe. And I stopped believing it for a while, and now I'm back into that again, where it's like, yeah, if I get a bill that comes in, it's a mystery bill and it just hits me kind of blindside. Yeah, that's okay. I've got it. I'll take care of it. When I'm working with clients, I do a strategy call with them. You know what you don't want? You know how you don't want to feel. You don't, this has been, affecting your life forever. My question to you is this. This is the one question I ask them at the end of my strategy call. It works every time. Without using the words can't, don't, or won't, tell me what you want instead. By the time I get to the end of the strategy call, they've eliminated those 3 words, because it's hypnotic. We've eliminated can't, don't, and won't. What do you want instead? How do you want to feel?
You charge for that 45-minute session?
I don't charge for that. That's free.
That's the complimentary call. Yeah, I understand.
That's complimentary. Yeah. But
that always gets them.
It's
yeah.
the hook. It's just a hook. I'll send it to Justine.
Yeah.
You guys can have a look at it. If you want to use it, go right ahead.
Please.
It's a hook. It's just amazing. Because I talk to them, and, I explain to them, like, hypnosis is explained in that strategy call, like the stepping stones on a river. Right now, you're on this side of the river in your current reality, with all this stuff, all the shit that you don't want. On the other side of the river is your desired reality, all the stuff that you do want. In between's this muddy river, and in that river is all the stuff that's stopping you and preventing you from having it right now. So let's raise up some stones and cross the river. And then I talk about why hypnosis works so effectively. There's 3 steps, right? I explain it to them. And as they're doing that, I've got them with their eyes closed and they're crossing the river. By the time they get across, can't, don't, won't are on the other side because that's their current reality. They're already over here. You've got them. Bam. I charge $900. I charge $600. By the time they get across that river, they're figuring out a way to find that money to do the work with you because they are bought in. Totally bought in. And it's magical. It's fantastic. Where's my strategy session? Here it is right here. And I just read, and if I send it to you, you'll have to forget about my, I've got some sort of spelling stuff in there, so I apologize. 3 legs of the system. It's the right system, the right support, and the right accountability. Do we not have a system that we use? Yes. Do we not support our clients? Yes. Do we not hold them accountable to doing the work for themselves? So I just explain it. I elaborate on all of that. And then there's a lot of reiterating what they're saying. So you have to really listen. What I'm hearing you say is this, and you give it back to them in language they can understand. And it makes it very, very powerful for them. And you can charge whatever you want. Literally, they'll pay it. And if they can't pay it right now, you can guarantee that they will find a way to pay it. They usually give people a bit of a break. If they do it right away, if you sign up right away, this is how much it is. Maybe $50 off a package or something. But if you have, 24 hours from now, she's full price again. Usually get a phone call. Okay, I've got it. I borrowed some money or I figured it out or whatever. The other nice thing about it is you're the therapist. If you're working with somebody and they really want to do the work and they can't afford your price, then you can say, oh, well, you know what, let's work a payment arrangement out, or I'll drop my price to this much money. How much could you afford? Usually charge $400. How much could you afford? Well, I could afford about 300. Okay, that's fine. Let's do it. Special arrangement, right? You're still the expert. You've heard them. You validated them. You made them feel important. You made them understand their problem from your perspective, from listening to what they've said. You've explained what you do and all the things that you're going to provide for them. And they've gotten across that river. They're already in that desired reality. They're already starting to live there. They don't want that stuff anymore. They're already over here. They're like, oh yeah, I can have that. Jacquie told me I can have that. Now I'm going to do the work and get it. So that's how you do it. That's how you make it happen. I'll send it to Justine. And then you can have a look at it and you can recreate it however you want. It works fabulous. Ever since I started using this strategy session, it just works. It's fantastic. I love it. And they're already in hypnosis when you're working with them. They're already in hypnosis. They're like, oh yeah, she's telling me the story of my life as she hears me saying it. That's what they want to know, is that you've heard them. And that's what we do as therapists. That's what we do as hypnotists, because we want to hear those words that we want to incorporate into the session. So we're really listening to what their client is saying. And they love it. So that's a big part of it.
Jacquie, I just want to thank you. I feel really humbled by your generosity, because some of the things that you're talking about are stumbling blocks for us, especially new, we're reasonably new to it.
Yep.
And from my heart, I thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem.
Same.
I don't mind sharing stuff at all. I share stuff all the time. I want the field of hypnosis to succeed. And I want everybody that's working in the field to feel like they're being brought along with it. So when I work with my students, I'm constantly giving them new information. I'm constantly giving them, updates and all kinds of things. And I mean, all of the things that I've written and all of the scripting that I have, I'm happy to share that all the time. Some of the things that I have, obviously, I keep there. You have to take a class to earn those things. But for the most part, I mean, if you're struggling with something, I'm happy to step in and say, okay, let's have a look at it, break it down and see what we can do with it. I mean, that's where my creative, I can't draw to save my life. My stick men are unidentifiable, but I can put programs together just like that, just on the fly. And I'm constantly, my brain's constantly going, well, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to, Inez is constantly telling me to slow down, but my brain never shuts off when it comes to that stuff. And I'm happy to share it. And I'm happy to bounce ideas as well. So if you have an idea and you're working on something and it's not quite coming together, or you want a second opinion on it, I'm happy to have a look at it and say, hey, let's improve this by doing maybe some of this. Let's do that. Give it a shot, see if it works. But at the same time, I want you to bring your personality. That's the biggest part of being a hypnotherapist, especially new people. Dump your personality into your work. Dump your personality into your scripting. Talk to people like you would talk to them all the time. And you'll be fantastic. I swear when I do sessions with people. It's probably not a good idea, but I do it. I swear all the time. If I have a client that swears when we're doing an intake, oh, they're comfortable with foul language.
Me too.
Fantastic. It's who I am. And my clients love me for it because I show up like this. Half the time I'm in house cleaning stuff and I just show up and I'm like, hey, all right, let's do this. I was like, I'm fitting you into my day. Let's just do this. This is just part of my day. Come on, let's get on with it. Right. So my clients appreciate that. They appreciate who I am. And that I'm very open and I'm very, here I am. This is me. I'm your hypnotic tour guide. I'm not here to look pretty. I never wear makeup. Half the time my hair is in a ponytail.
But you wear fabulous nail polish.
And I wear fabulous nail polish and I'm always got my hands up too. I should have been a French Canadian, but I'm not. And I've got tattoos hanging out everywhere and they're like, oh, okay, here she is. This is who she is.
You use foul language in the hypnosis, in the trance, you swear?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I do as well.
Sometimes the superconscious mind needs a bit of a push. Or if a client is working on something and I can see a lot of abreaction going on, I'll be like, come on, superconscious, like get your fucking shit together and get in there. Like help them. That's what you're here for. Guidance. Hello. Anytime now. Let's get on with this. Like we don't need anger. We don't need hatred. Get rid of it. Superconscious knows me well. It's like, okay, fine.
Okay.
But I don't want to see my client. My biggest thing is I don't like to see my clients struggle. I don't like to see them cry because then I cry. I'm like, come on, enough of this. They're crying. They're going through some stuff. If it's going on for too long, I mean, a healthy amount of abreaction is healthy. Beyond that, it's like, come on, superconscious. Like, seriously, get your head out of your ass and let's get on with this.
It would have to be authentic to you because I couldn't imagine you going, come on now, fuck it, let's do this. I couldn't imagine that coming out of your mouth, Faye.
Not be authentic at all.
No, and if it doesn't suit you, then that's perfectly fine.
Do it.
Absolutely.
I don't use foul language.
No, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm just, this is who I am. This is who I am every day, all day. So, and my clients appreciate it. And I mean, you can judge your clients too. I mean, if you've got a client that's like, yeah, you can kind of tell that they're not into that, then I don't do it. But I get a lot of addicts. I get a lot of people who have been dealing with garbage for a long time. I get a lot of people who really feel bad about themselves, like really bad about themselves. And they don't want to let go of some of that stuff because it's who they are. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Do you want to be like angry for the rest of your life? I'll bring their conscious into it. Do you want to be angry forever? No. Well, then let it go. For crying out fucking loud, let it go. Okay. They have a little abreaction and it's gone. So it depends on the client, obviously. But I do swear in my sessions, and I'm very abrupt sometimes with the superconscious. I'm like, I know you know how to do this. You are like the all power, almighty thingy. Go ahead and do what you need to do. If I could do it, I'd wave my magic wand and fix it for you. But I don't have one. So I had to rely on you to do this. So do it. So I'm very much, this is what you see is what you get. Sometimes I'm hiding in my basement. Sometimes I'm in my kitchen. Sometimes I'm here in my office. What you see is what you get. welcome to my life. Here it is.
I agree with everyone. You've been wonderful, Jacquie, like so generous with your time and your sharing. I'm so glad I jumped on. I don't usually on Tuesdays or Wednesdays at this time. So this has been great.
There, you needed something from today, Faye.
Totally. And it's lovely to hear that Canadian accent again.
Cool. Well,
Cool.
thank you so much, Jacquie, for coming. It was an awesome chat. Heaps of information, like everybody said.
You're
And
welcome.
Jacquie, you do mentoring and things as well, eh? For
What's
people.
that?
You do mentoring as well if people want to contact you.
Yeah, I do mentoring.
Yeah.
I do mentoring, and I do all kinds of stuff. So
Awesome.
yes.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Thank
I will
you.
I'll put some dates together for October. I'll maybe confer with you, Justine, and see what dates work for you guys.
Yeah.
And then
cool.
I'll build a class around those dates so that
Yeah.
we can put something together. But yeah, I teach worldwide, so it's all good.
Cool. All right. I will catch you later. Thanks heaps, Jacquie.
Thanks,
You're
Jacquie.
welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Good chat. Nice to see you all. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.